So we will
Sorry,
show
that's bad.
Teaspoon versus Enamord. This will be a game.
I'm excited. Okay.
Alright, so we will have Terran versus Zerg on Death Aura. Death Aura is a map by Maris, a map maker who... Yeah, I kind of like her, except she's made some of the maps I like least. So, I'm conflicted. But on the top left, with the ugliest command center anyone's ever seen, is Teaspoon, the red Terran. And on the bottom right, the green Zerg. Anric, also known as Enamord.
I confess I always find green Zerg to be somewhat disconcerting. There's something about the green that just throws me off.
I like green
Maybe the way-
everyone.
It's pretty, but it also like maybe just the clash between the green and the purple is sort of menacing. Maybe it's like a good thing. It is Zerg.
Yeah. So, Anric is going for a non-aggressive opener, which is hatchery first, then 18 drones, and only then a spawning pool, and that's spawning pool before extractor, so that's even...
That's quite passive.
That's quite passive. With aggressive Zergs, you'll see a faster extractor than spawning pool, and they'll get Zergling speed very quickly. And then they'll do really mean stuff with Zerglings. Teaspoon's playing it safe, getting a wall before almost anything else, and a Reaper.
Which sensible because Zerg, but because the Zerg's playing slower, that's actually there's an advantage she doesn't know she could be using.
Yeah. And the command center on the bottom, which is a little bit greedier and a little bit safer. Reaper's out, jumps the cliff, waves hello to the Overlord, and continues outward. 2 queens on the way. Gas mining started. And let's see what the Reaper does. Reaper runs in and starts shooting.
And
Kills a drone. Gets hit a little. And dies.
and nice.
So there are 2 things you want to make sure you do with your first Reaper. The first is you want to scout, you want to see what the opponent has. And to an extent that Reaper did that. And the other thing that's really nice is damage. And the Reaper did a little bit of damage. But 1 drone is 50 minerals, and 1 Reaper is 50 minerals and 50 gas. And that's not a great trade. But Teaspoon is expanding, getting a 3rd command center on the high ground, going into factory. So that'll be 2 factories. That's probably heavy mech, a siege tank, and the natural is an orbital command.
Now, what's the balance on orbital commands for how much you go for the mules versus scanning?
Unless you need a scan, you go for mules. The basic rule I use is always be muling. Always, mules are just so good. Mules are the Terran economic advantage. Mules let you mass Marines or Hellbats. And I mean, you can see right now, Teaspoon has fewer workers, but higher income. Mules are that good.
Mm.
9 fuel.
Substantively fewer workers and yeah.
Yeah.
Terran OP.
You know, to be OP, it would have to have good units that can move. The big problem Terran has is its armies.
Okay, that's a lot of roaches I'm seeing build up.
Yes, that is a large number of roaches, because my screen is half blocked by my phone, which has Twitch chat. But, yes, that's 13 roaches so far, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah. However, these are 2 tanks behind a wall. There's a bunker with 2 Marines in it, but...
It's the tanks that'll get it finished.
Tanks behind a wall are generally... They're generally the strongest unit in the game. If they're behind a wall.
I know matches... I don't think I've played a match where I've successfully busted through a wall that had tanks behind it, unless I was already going to win the game anyway.
Well, there are basically 2 ways to beat tanks behind a wall. And one is air units, or you attack through not the wall. You know? Terran would drop, Zerg would do Niduses, Protoss would drop. Both of those work.
Yep.
And the other one is tanks, you know, they defend one wall. But that means that the Terran really needs to either stay behind that wall or have unsafe bases. And if they have unsafe bases, you can attack those bases, and if they don't, if they stay behind the wall, then you can just macro up and just have enough of an economy to ram an army into the wall constantly.
Okay.
And there are race-specific strategies, like Sky is saying Vipers. Vipers are amazing versus this sort of thing. And Broodlords too. Tempests work very well. You were about to ask how Protoss does it? Yeah, Tempests work.
No, I was actually going to say I haven't encountered Vipers yet, but everything I hear about them makes me go, I don't want to.
Yeah, the thing with Vipers is that they're a very hard spellcaster to control. So, if you're against someone who's playing Vipers, either you win because they're using Vipers, or you lose because they're using Vipers at the levels we're playing.
Okay, so either someone hasn't learned how to use them well enough yet, and they're gonna distract themselves, or they know what they're doing, and you're just gonna get eaten alive.
Yeah.
Can they grab air units too, or only ground?
No, they can grab air units too. And this is an example of roaches and hydras coming in
and the unsafe
destroying
base.
an unsafe base. And after they leave, SCVs look at the minerals longingly. So Teaspoon's next base has a planetary fortress, which can defend itself. But Enamord has withdrawn. If you look at the supply differences, Teaspoon's in trouble here.
Yeah. And there's only more hurt that's gonna come.
Yeah.
Bunch more Hydralisks building up at home for Enamord.
You know, 4 bases against 3 bases. Though Teaspoon's third is going to land back. And she's going to send out another one.
Now, Enamord can't actually see that third base coming back.
Yep.
What is that thought? Oh no.
No, the Thor is chasing the Overlord, but decides to stop. And tanks set up in the middle there. Now there's no wall, but it does mean they'll be able to shoot an army a little.
No, I haven't really come across Hellbats, Hellions in the other format.
Yeah.
What's their main usage?
Well, Hellbats and Hellions deal double damage to light units. And Hellbats have a pretty hefty amount of life for their cost. So they're amazing versus Zerglings and Workers and Zealots and Marines. And here's an attack against the Planetary Fortress. Now what you want to do is immediately send SCVs to repair it. But Teaspoon doesn't
just
do
hold
that.
out one day.
And
Unfortunately, that's leaving the tanks behind.
yeah. Tanks turn into stop being in siege mode and go ahead and go into siege mode here. But Enamord is moving to a less defended base, destroys it.
And Enamord has just started to take a fifth too. So
Yeah. So Enamord is doing a really good job of controlling Teaspoon's economy. Even though Teaspoon's army will beat Enamord's in a fair fight, Enamord isn't taking one of those.
and he is a hungry little Zergling here, chipping away.
Yeah. And its route will just search for more bases. Now Hydralisks and Roaches go up the stairs, but die to the tanks.
Yes. Yeah.
They walk in a line, all just die. And that's the strength of 4 tanks behind a wall, in this case a wall of Thors.
But unfortunately, that's not going to be enough unless Teaspoon can capitalize on it.
Yep. Teaspoon really should spend her bank, which she's trying to do on 3 factories.
Yes.
More factories would be better.
Particularly given how quickly, yeah, the Zergs are well on their way to remaxing already.
Yeah. But in general, it would be good for Teaspoon to take advantage of this to expand to another 2 bases. Because she's overmining on a really bad level.
She's half out on both her main and her natural.
Yeah.
And here comes the next push. That's a lot of Hydralisks.
And the tanks aren't sieged. In siege mode, tanks deal the same amount roughly, but they deal it in one shot rather than a few. And they do splash damage. So they're much better at dealing with armies. Now the Hellbats are out. If you notice, the Hellbats really roast the Hydralisks because Hydralisks are light. One of the tanks has died, but so did the entire army. And now Enamord is actually at a bit of an economic disadvantage, except his income is great. So there are 32 Hydralisks on the way. And I do like ramming soldiers into a wall, but this is really the point where you want to do a tech switch, which Enamord is actually doing. A Greater Spire is on the way, and that means Broodlords, which aren't very good against Thors, but are incredible at breaking sieges. And are vicious versus tanks, so... Yeah, this is pretty much a Zerg headbutt. So, scans do reveal Enamord's army. And Teaspoon sends her own army to fight them. Planetary Fortress is helping. Tanks are up, sieged, and the Hydralisks charge in and just die.
Okay.
Let's look at tank kills. One has 17, one has 9, and one has 18.
Thirsty tanks, indeed. Oh, there's a Thor with 10 kills?
Makes sense. Thors do deal a decent amount of damage. There's another one with 9 kills. And, yeah. Now, this is a little bit desperate on Enamord's side. And it shouldn't be. Because she was doing well, but... But sending these Hydralisks in one at a time to die...
I do wonder if it's just to keep Teaspoon on the off foot, because if Teaspoon pushes out, that could cause problems for Enamord, but if Teaspoon just sits tight, she's going to starve.
But she does have a sensor tower, which would warn her about more army movements. 2 sensor towers.
2 sensor towers?
Sensor towers reveal units in the radius. They don't reveal what units they are, they just reveal their locations.
Okay, so she'll see this coming.
Yeah. And sends the army. Hydralisks kill the sensor tower, but it did its job. Hellbats come in, take the damage mostly.
Okay.
Siege tank transforms, gets a shot off but dies. And I'm looking at the upgrades. Enamord has a huge upgrade advantage. 3-2 versus 1-1.
Oh wow, yeah.
Yeah. So that was actually not a terrible attack, but this next one is. Never send Hydralisks on their own, because...
They're just walking in. Must have been a rally point, maybe.
Yeah. So... that's another 8 Hydralisks on the way. Teaspoon's making up that upgrade disadvantage. Already at 2-2. I really would like to see more bases from Teaspoon because 2 bases are totally mined out. Another one is well on its way. Another 2 actually.
Unfortunately, the top one started to mine out and it's oversaturated. The bottom one hasn't, but it's not being utilized fully yet.
Yeah. And if you look at Enamord is on basically 4 bases mining, 3.5.
Teaspoon's got a decent bank.
Teaspoon is scanning the bases. And
mineral cluster expended.
Alright, she's starting to expand, that's good.
Starting to expand, building a command center, but I think she forgot about this command center, which does exist and can be used.
Could even be an orbital to call down more mules.
Could be an orbital, or could be landed and mined from. And made into a planetary fortress.
She could be dropping it over here.
Yep. Or if she's brave, over here. Even though I think over here is a little bit better because this ramp is a choke point.
And it would also help protect against this one back here.
Yeah. But no, just a mech move out versus a Hydralisk move out. Siege tanks transform. That is 6 siege tanks.
Don't walk back. Don't walk back, Teaspoon.
No, that's actually good. Get all the Hydralisks into siege tank range.
I was just watching. There was one siege tank up front, and I felt sorry for it.
Yeah. So Hydralisks come in to flank from the north, but don't attack, and all die.
And those flames really chew them up.
Yeah. Now there is an upgrade that makes the flames blue and deal even more. And that makes Hellbats evil. Walking in through the choke point, which only one Thor can fit through at a time pretty much.
That reminds me of the time I, in my first match with Baron, and I made a maze for my stalkers.
Yeah. Hellbats and Thors make sure that no drones survive. Hydralisks come in, actually do decent damage, kill a few Thors, but not anywhere near enough. And yeah, there's just this vicious mech ball. Kills a Broodlord. Kills another Broodlord that's transforming. This Hellbat joins his friends.
Yeah, this is kind of what I've been hoping to see Teaspoon do, is push in with the there's a counterattack.
Yeah. Broodlords are amazing, but they do need a shield. They deal a ton of damage, they deal it from far away, they distract units. They're just not the tankiest. They're pretty tanky, but Thors just deal so much damage to air.
Oh, and Teaspoon's remembered that command center and moved it out, so...
Yeah. So that's
and
a GG.
Called it.
Yeah. So that's Teaspoon 1, Enamord 0. And are the scores working? Nope, they do not appear to be working, so I will not mess with them.
Oh, that was I confess there was a few points there when I thought that Teaspoon was just going to have a long and painful death, but
Yeah.
no, she pulled it back.
This really was a game that either player could have won. And Teaspoon just did better.
She managed to hold out when Amrik was trying to get that starve happening.
What do you mean you don't know what you would do against the Thor Siege Hellbat move out? You beat that every time I did that against you, Sky. Anyway. So that's on the top right, the blue Terran this time, Teaspoon. And on the bottom left, the green Zerg is Enamord. Just so you know what Sky did against me. No, we had pretty similar armies. Was used 2 units that are incredible against mech. The first, as we mentioned, are Vipers, which cancelled out large blocks of my army and made it very hard to... and pulled in tanks and Thors to be killed. And the other unit that I'm not sure if Sky used, but is very good, is Lurkers, which deals splash damage and more to armor, if I'm not mistaken.
And once you know they're there, they force you to keep popping scans and...
Yeah. Lurkers can get into trouble with tanks, but when Lurkers have Vipers with them and Hydras, and you do the TVT game where you just have these endless battle lines where a unit can't cross without dying, Lurkers pretty much function like tanks. Lurkers and tanks are kind of like Immortals and tanks, where the winner is whoever gets the edge.
I've been learning to take immortals and run them into people's bases and blow structures up and run away again.
Yeah,
Just
that's
fun.
what you can do to make that work even better is have a warp prism and like 5 or 6 gateways and charge, and then you can carry the immortals around and give them zealot bodyguards.
Oh, I like that.
And that is the cruelest
I'm
thing
not-
in the world to do to Zerg.
Well then, I'll file that away. Okay, we've got a Reaper coming down, bottom right.
Let's see if he'll be luckier than his ancestor in the previous game.
There's a queen
Comes
waiting
in.
for him, unfortunately.
Shoots the drone, shoots the queen once, and runs away. Gets
On
shot
it,
by the
second
queen,
wave.
runs away. So that did do some scouting. She did see all of the Enamord's tech, but he didn't kill any drones, which is fine. You don't have to kill drones. It's better to make sure that your opponent isn't doing something weird. So that's a
Now,
teaspoon's going mech again.
does this count as a form of wall-off?
Yes, this is a wall off. The thing is that wall offs are really bad against Terran. Against Terran, you
'cause
want one of 2 types of walls. You want to either wall off your mineral line so that Reapers can't run in as easily, and you want to wall off the cliffs that exist on every map that Reapers can jump up through, and leave them only one exit. Teaspoon's mining very, very efficiently and getting a siege tank and a reactor. The thing with the main wall like Enamord has is that it can be killed by a tank from far away, and when you try to kill that tank, it works as a funnel for your own units, so it's easier for the tank to kill them.
Let's take him the high ground.
Tank from no, not even the middle ground, even the tank just far away enough that your units can't attack it.
Okay. Okay, Zerg's third going down. Oh, command center. Teaspoon's got a command center going on up here, so
Yep, the command center for the third being built on the high ground, which is what you probably should do when your second isn't completely saturated. You should build a command center on the low ground when it's a problem. This overlord isn't exactly in the right spot to not be seen, so it gets killed.
he wasn't quite on the pillar.
Yeah. Yeah. There's some maps where you have to be very precise with how you place your overlord. But that's 10 roaches
Yep.
in the middle of the map on the Zelnaga
And
pillar.
another 10 coming.
Yep. So
Okay, 20 roach push against.
against a bunker
I mean-
and 2 tanks, the 20 roaches will probably lose.
Although I feel sorry for these 2 SUVs.
Oh, these SCVs are probably dead, but these roaches will not survive. And this command center completely ruining our view of the battle. But the roaches kill a bunker, a few marines, and a tank, and run away. Which is pretty much the best you can hope for when you ram 20 roaches into a wall with 3 tanks behind it.
Yeah. Yeah. Now Reaper's come back.
So, Teaspoon builds
Oh,
a planetary in a pretty unsafe third, but it's still a planetary. In general, most Terrans like to have 3 orbitals before they go into planetaries, but
maybe she's hoping it won't be spotted straight away. I'm not sure.
yeah, could be.
The main attack path is gonna be through here.
Yeah. But yeah. And here lands the fourth command center onto the slightly safer third,
Yeah.
which is also where Enamord put his. But yeah,
Is
the
it
Terrans. Teaspoon's at a base
Terran-
advantage, but not at a worker advantage, and that. Yeah, that income-wise, Enamord is
it's
doing much better.
Enamord is doing much better, yeah. Given a minute or two, and Teaspoon will turn that around. But the question is, does she have a minute?
And is she going to use this command center? Because this command center isn't really being touched. None of the command centers are. And these two are at full gas. Not full gas, full energy.
Full
I'm
energy,
sorry.
and the top spin started to be mined out. She's taking them off. Good, she's correcting it.
Nope, they're just building supply depots.
Oh, building.
Because, yeah, to make sure she doesn't get supply blocked, which I think these 6 supply depots will make sure she doesn't get supply blocked until the end of the game.
Oh, just dodged supply block there.
Oh no, sorry, I looked at the wrong person's supply. She still has more to go. These SCVs are trying to mine, but they're walled off, so they can't go mine. That's something that you really need to notice. Yeah, that's a corner base, but I mean that's just the next place to expand.
As I was saying, it does mean the attack path will be through that orbital, that planetary fortress.
Yeah.
Now, I mean, she started to put workers on.
Yeah, she finally lowered the wall. But yeah, we're still at a supply advantage. So one thing that both players could do is poke a little at each other. Especially Enamord, who's maxed out.
Enamord's got a overseer coming and will spot the planetary fortress.
Yeah.
It's a planetary fortress, but otherwise just sitting there, fairly unprotected.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a lot of hydras.
That's a lot of hydras. That's a decent amount of roaches. That is a spire and a hive, meaning Enamord could be ready for the next stage.
Yeah, and that's level 2 missile, level 1 carapace.
Yeah.
Versus 1/1.
But this is not a fight you want to take, not versus an army and a planetary.
And unfortunately the roaches are dead by the time the hydras get there.
Yeah, this is trying to be stutter step, but you don't want to stutter step like this while you're under fire. Enamord does kill all the tanks and most of the Thors and Hellbats. And is remaxing.
There's sneaky changeling hiding there.
Yeah, changeling revealing the army, but yeah. And now this is a pure Hydralisk army, and that's not great with tanks and Hellbats. You do want something to soak up the damage.
Okay, the entire army seems to be heading north.
Yeah, so this Hellion kills the Changeling.
That's a lot of Hydralisks, both in the central ball and all the separate bases.
Yeah. And they are heading out all together to attack this base, which is unprotected and will go down. SCVs come in to repair, but too little too late. And siege tanks come out and are just gonna, yeah.
But,
This is obscene.
Up here, we have it's a split attack.
Yep. And that's actually what you want to do versus mech. Split up attacks. And force them to run around. Except Teaspoon isn't taking the bait. She's just charging in.
She's punching.
There are no defenses because all of Enamord's supply is in Hydralisks that are outside the base.
This could end badly for... Yeah. I mean, to a certain degree, Teaspoon has to make this count because she has lost 2 bases.
Yeah.
And she can't remax as quickly.
This is very dangerous, but it has to... If it doesn't do a lot, then Teaspoon's in trouble. Fortunately, it seems to be doing a lot. Also, Teaspoon tries to expand, but gets shot down by the base.
Oh no, and that base is gonna burn. It's gonna...
Nope.
Oh,
There's a savior SCV.
Save.
Now,
11th power.
so Teaspoon destroyed a base.
And looks like she's gonna push around to clean out these side ones.
I would also like to see more of a focus on creep, because creep would really help Enamord spot this army and know where it is at all times.
Yes.
But also Teaspoon could try to destroy the creep tumors and just really clear that out.
Yeah, creep's one of those things that playing Protoss, there's this constant, thank goodness I don't have to try and juggle creep on top of everything else.
It's not that much juggling, but it is some. And it's very helpful to do it. The problem is that it's not an addition you really understand. You know, you don't see how good it is. It just passively makes your game go better.
Okay, and that is a...
Yep. Now this is how you probably should use Broodlords, because you have these Hydralisks ahead. You use them to kill the tanks, but you just need more.
And there's a lone Corruptor just floating there.
Yeah. It wanted to join its Broodlord brothers.
And these Thors just marching in. I think Teaspoon's... Yeah, the 5 factories as compared to the 2 from last time. really helping
Yeah.
keep that reinforcements trickling in.
Plus, I mean, yeah, this is the point. Teaspoon's supply is 100 more than Enamord's. 5 times the army supply. And
Yeah,
really,
and
she doesn't need to
she's
play
running-
well at this point. She can just march units in.
Yep, she's got 2.5 bases, whereas everything for America's on this base up here.
Yeah.
I think this is GG.
And there's the GG.
Yeah, aggressive Thors just freak me out.
Yeah, they're they're probably, just as an all-over thing, the strongest unit in the game. They're very good against ground, they're very good against air, they're very tanky. You just have to know how to deal with them. Alright.